In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Lady, who by thy sweetness dost ravish the hearts of men, hast thou not ravished mine? O ravisher of hearts, when wilt thou restore me mine? Rule and govern it, like thy own preserve it, in the blood of the Lamb, and place it in thy Son's side. Then shall I obtain what I desire, possess what I hope. For thou art our hope. Amen.
Our Father, who art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
thy kingdom come,
Thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
Hail Mary,
Full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Glory be to the Father, and to the
The
Son,
Son,
and to the Holy Ghost.
as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end.
Come, O Holy Ghost, fill the hearts of thy faithful, and kindle in them the fire of thy love. Et nomen Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancti.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you for coming on this morning. I know it's early. You got your coffee. We're halfway through the consecration, the preparation. So where this really marks the half point of it. And so I've got some new exciting things to share with you about who Our Lady is or what she'll do for you today, and about what we're giving. Today will be more about what we're going to give Our Lady, especially the merits and satisfactions of our good works. We'll be going into a little bit about Thomistic thought and Council of Trent thought on satisfaction of our good works and the merits of our good works. It's a very technical term, and it'll help us with that. Let's talk a little bit about the true devotion. This is where we left off. The true devotion is first interior. It engages our mind and our heart, both to have a deeper love for her. So it has to be interior. You remember the false devotion. One of them was that it was just exterior, that we just hold the rosary in our hand. We say the words of the rosary, but nothing goes on here. So it's primarily an interior devotion. It's also tender. We are sons going confidently to a loving mother that loves us more than all the mothers of the entire world all put together. Can you imagine how much love that must be that she has for us? And so we come to her as sons, and she smiles at us with great love and affection. We go to her with great confidence for everything that we need, both earthly things and spiritual things that we need. Both. It's also holy. A true devotion leads us to holiness, to avoid sin, to go deeper into the virtues, chastity and purity, to go deeper into what it means to be a man, what it means to be a father and husband in our vocation, and to assume her virtues. The part of this consecration, which I haven't talked about yet, and which I'm going to talk about today, is she is going to give us her virtues as mediatrix. And so we will enter into that mystery of what that means. She's going to take her virtues and place them into our own personality. A true devotion is also constant. It's not fickle. Each day we live it out. Each day we turn to her. Even if we just say, you are my heart and my soul, and that's all that we say to her, but we have this union of our will with her. We do it each day. We pray a rosary every day, obviously, but it's faithful. It's constant. every day. And here's a consoling thought: we don't have to be conscious. Once we make the consecration, that's it. We made the decision. And so if we don't think about it all the time, that's okay. The decision is final. We haven't revoked it. We didn't undecide or unconsecrate ourselves. We are limited creatures, and our attention span is very limited. And so it's okay if we're not attending or always paying attention to the consecration. As long as if we have not withdrawn it, we're okay. And we must have confidence in that decision. It's also disinterested. We're not doing this for any gain. We're not doing this for anything that we want. We're doing this consecration, that we're having this devotion because of who she is, because she is the mother of God, because she is the woman, because she is the co-redemptrix, because as we learned last time, she is the inseparable companion with Jesus. We do it because she deserves it, because of who she is. Let's talk about some of the practices of this devotion. First of all, I don't know if you've heard this before. Have you heard of the term latria, dulia, and hyperdulia? Heard of that before? Brad has. Okay. So I won't waste time then spending a few moments on that. Latria, a little bit. Okay, over there. What's your name? I'm sorry. He's got to unmute.
Ted, I need more.
Okay,
Brad,
awesome.
I need it.
Awesome. Okay, great. So this is a good thing for us to learn. Latria is worship that we give God alone. Only God deserves latria because of who He is. He is He's God. He's the creator of everything. He is omniscient, omnipresent, etc. We give latria to God alone. We give dulia to the saints. It's honor. And in the English word worship applies both to God, to everything. When you're giving honor to anything, the true sense of the word worship, it applies to all. So, but we don't worship the saints in the way we use worship today, but in the classic sense, worship would be applied to God, saints, and everything. So we have to make this Latin distinction here. We're giving latria to God. It is where I fall down, I bow down in adoration to God. Only God gets that. To the saints, we give dulia. We give honor. We honor for what they did. We honor for how they spent their life on the earth, for how they honored God. Our Lady deserves a special classification of honor, and it's called hyperdulia. Another way of saying that in English would be super praise. We could praise the saints, and when we say we praise the saints, we are not detracting. We're not giving the saints latria. We're just honoring them for what they did. For heaven's sakes, they got eaten by lions. That deserves honor. They got barbecued, like by St. Lawrence. They got put arrows in them. They got their heads cut off. All kinds of stuff that St. Paul talks about in his epistles to everything. Our Lady deserves hyperdulia because she is unlike any other creature. No, the angels and the saints do not deserve this. And so hyperdulia, it goes to her because she is a unique creature, unlike any others. And so when we have this devotion, it is fitting that we know that that's our response to her as that creature. God demands us. The justice demands, because of how God made Our Lady. It is her due because God made her that way. And so we're doing simply what God wants us to do when we give a special, super praise, a unique type of honor that is given to her, this inseparable companion with God. It's also, its interior devotion also is has us meditate on her virtues and privileges. When we think about her immaculate conception, that she never had sin from the moment of her conception, that's part of fostering this interior devotion. When we think about her profound humility, her unbelievable, insurpassable purity, when we think of her boundless maternity and love, her empathy for her children, we're fostering this interior devotion. Of Mary, we can never say enough, as we learned in either the last class or the class before. We can't say enough of her virtues. She's not God, but she's very, very great in her virtues, and she grows in them. In interior devotion, we makes acts of love to her and acts of praise to her. We can honor her for these privileges and for these virtues. We can say, Mary, you are so pure. Help me to have your purity. Mary, you are so humble. Give me a piece of your humility. Share it with me in this consecration. Mary, I love you so much. You are my mother. Help me to love you more. Help me to turn to you more and to go to you more. We can invoke her intercession in this devotion. We can pray to her for anything, earthly or spiritual, that we need. That's all part of this interior devotion. We can unite ourselves to her. We have that capacity, just like we can unite ourselves to the saints. And that union is son, daughter to mother. We are united to her. That happened. We became her child, as I said before, at the foot of the cross. And it's biblical. Jesus said, "Son, behold your mother; woman, behold your son." That wasn't just to St. John. That was to everyone. Woman is this title of this inseparable companion. And it was said to all, because John there is a type of Christian, or he is representing all of us there in the Gospels. But that became factual and historical and personal to us at our baptism. And so when we unite ourselves and have that union with her, it's the same type of union a son has to a mother. There's a union there, obviously. And so we can turn and foster that. One of the ways that we can do that is to say, Mary, you are my heart and my soul. That's a quote, I believe, either from St. Bonaventure or St. Alphonsus Liguori. That's a powerful, short little thing. You can just say, you are my heart, you are my soul. We can just look at her statue, and that statue reminds us of her. And we can just say no words, but just gaze on her and just love her. And any act of love is an act of union with her. We can also offer up everything to her, all of our actions and our good works, and scoop them up and just, we don't know what to do with them, just scoop them all up and give them to her. All of these would be interior acts of devotion. Let's talk now about exterior acts of devotion. Enrolling in a confraternity. You have the Confraternity of Our Lady Fatima, the Confraternity of Our Lady of the Rosary, all kinds of confraternities that we can join. You can become a third order Carmelite and be united to her that way. You can join a religious order created in her honor, like the Marians Immaculate, or the Franciscan Friars of the Immaculate, who kind of got beat up by the Pope in 2010. He pretty much crushed their order and broke their back. But many of those friars are into other things. I'm not familiar. I don't know if you're familiar with what happened to the Franciscan Friars of the Immaculate, but That's another story. But you may have heard the Carmelites. Have you heard of the Pope trying to uh, persecute the Carmelites in Pennsylvania? No, some of you have. Um, yeah. So one of the Franciscan Friars of the Immaculate that I knew very well, who got kind of booted, didn't get booted out of the order, but pretty much did, is now a hermit, and he's the chaplain of those Carmelites there in Pennsylvania. He was on YouTube and interviewed. His name is Father Maximilian Dean. Father Maximilian Dean is a hermit, but before he was a hermit, he was a Franciscan friar of the Immaculate. And the Franciscan Friars of the Immaculate marks the first time when the Vatican, under the authority of the Pope, is starting to try to dismember and destroy all religious orders that have a love for the true faith, the traditional faith, have a love for the Latin Mass. The Carmelites is one. EWTN is another order. They were broken by them. Many don't know that. Their superior was replaced, and all traditional sisters in the order that were postulants were told that they did not have a vocation. I know this for a fact because Father Maximilian was there in Alabama when the new superior was coming in and taking over. He was actually there, an eyewitness to that. Tangent, but we can join a religious order devoted to Our Lady. We can proclaim her praises publicly. We can do a rosary. Many of you have done that. Public, like I remember Brad mentioning when he was taking me to the airport in the rain, you guys did some kind of public rosary. That's amazing and beautiful thing to do, to give her. In the reign of Mary, there's going to be a lot of public devotion that's restored. Now it's kind of hard, but it's still legal for us to do it in the West. In some places in the world, you'd be beheaded if you did, or the communists wouldn't let you do it. But where we are, we still can. In Europe, we still can. And that's a great thing to do. It's probably one of the greatest things that you can do, to pray her rosary in the public square. We can give alms, make sacrifices, and fast in her honor. We can give up whatever we like. I like a lot of things like beer, meat, whatever, barbecue. You like buffalo wings, but you like that wing sauce. Give up the wing sauce and just eat the wings plain without the wing sauce. That'd be a huge, life-altering sacrifice for me. Or dark beer, drink. If you can't drink Miller Lite instead of Chimay or something. It's a sacrifice, and you do it in her honor, in honor of her virtues or something, or in honor of her privileges. You can give it up, in praise of her Immaculate Conception. Wear the scapular. That's really part of the message of Fatima too. He even recommends wearing the rosary or wearing a chain. Some people do that. I see some of the kids at Franciscan do that, wear a little chain around their wrist or their leg. He kind of goes crazy. St. Louis de Montfort goes crazy about the chain. Really big on it. I don't have the quote handy, but I wish I did. But he's big on that, wearing a chain. Some saints were nuts. About the chain. One of the previous superiors of the Jesuit order wore a big chain around his waist, cut it to his flesh. He says he wishes he could wear a ball and chain around his leg so he'd walk around with a chain and have, with a ball to try to symbolize that slavery. So there's something to it. It's kind of new for us in the 21st century in America, go around with chains, but it's a big deal. It's a symbol of our slavery, of the holy slavery that we're going to embrace or have embraced in the consecration. He recommends pray the 15-decade rosary if you have time. I can't do it. I think I get 2 rosaries in a day. In some of the other languages, in Spanish, what we call the rosary is called the third. They have some name for it in Spanish. Forget what the word is, but that's just really what we're praying is the third or 1/3 of the real rosary. So he recommends that. Maybe we can get it in, maybe we can't. It's up to our duty and state life. But, if we could pray the full 15-decade rosary, let's do it. Sing or have sung in her honor. Sing songs to Our Lady if we have a gift. I obviously can't do that anymore. I used to be able to do it. Hopefully soon, in a month or two, I'll be able to. I'm not even going to try at this point. But if we can't do it, have a song sung in her honor. Take care of her altar. Maybe have a little place at home with a statue. Get her flowers. Like, I'm not holding myself as an example at all, but an idea would be, cut flowers, go cut flowers. Stop by the side of the road, grab her flowers, and keep flowers fresh, especially from when the flowers start growing in May all the way to when they stop. Get as many flowers as you can. Bring them. Get some flowers for her at the church, and at your altar at home, and keep those fresh, and show her honor. Show love to your mother. Processions with her statue around the church, inside the church, outside the church, all kinds of processions. Put images of her in public places. If you've got a big property, put a big image of her outside your property. In some traditional Catholic countries, they got little shrines everywhere you go, especially in Europe. That's a great thing to do. And the consecration is the final great thing that we can do as an exterior devotion to manifest this devotion. I've got a challenge for you from St. Louis de Montfort in paragraph 118. And it's a challenge to me too, as I make the consecration with you. He says this. Here's a little bit more about the true devotion and then about the challenge. In paragraph 118, he says, I've read everything, he says. I've read everything there is. He's pretty bold. He's kind of a doctor of the church, not really proclaimed, but he is like the Summa of Our Lady. He's read everything there is to know about Our Lady. So we've got to understand that. So he is just boasting the fact that he really has, even though he died when he was 46, he read everything. He says, I've nearly read everything, all the books which profess to treat a devotion to Our Lady, and have conversed familiarly with the best and wisest of men of these latter times, and I have never known nor heard of any practice of devotion toward her at all equal to the one which I am now unfolding to you, demanding from the soul, as it does, more sacrifices for God, ridding the soul more of its self-love, keeping it more faithfully in grace, and grace more faithfully in it, uniting it more perfectly and more easily to Jesus Christ, and finally being more glorious to God, more sanctifying to the soul, and more useful to our neighbor than any other devotion. So in a certain sense, like my wife always says, whatever you're into, it's always the best thing, the thing we should do. She kind of thinks I'm like, got to get everybody into what I'm doing and what I think is the best thing. But I can honestly, and that's true, I'm kind of arrogant that way. But this is really true. We have St. Louis de Montfort's word on it. There is no better, more perfect devotion to this. And so I boldly lay that before all of us, that this is the best, most truest, most perfect devotion to Jesus and to Mary there is. And we'll see it in our lives as we see the fruits unfold. We've done it before, but we're doing it again, and in making it even better. He also says this, and this is a challenge to us in paragraph 119. Ultimately, we have to ask ourselves this question. As the essential of this devotion consists in the interior, which ought to form, in 17 days, we're going to say it. the words of consecration that I read to you on the first day in 17 days. That's exterior. Now I'm going to talk about interior. It primarily consists of this interior devotion, which it ought to form. It will not be equally understood by everybody. Some will stop at what is exterior in it. Some are just going to read the words, and that's it, and will go no further. And these will be the greatest number. Some in small number will enter into its inward spirit, but they will only mount one step. Who of you will mount to the second step? Who will get as far as the third step? Lastly, who will so advance as to make this devotion a habitual state where you're giving her everything that you are, everything that you possess forever as a habit? How many of us will do that? He alone, to whom the Spirit of Jesus Christ, who shall have revealed this secret, the faultlessly faithful soul, whom he shall conduct there himself to advance from virtue to virtue, from grace to grace, from light to light, until he arrives at the transformation of himself into Jesus Christ and to the plenitude of his age on earth and of his glory in heaven. That's really the challenge of St. Louis de Montfort. How far will we go? How much will we invest? Will we get close and hold back? Will we hold back something and not give her everything? That's the question. That's what's really we're being asked to do. And I can tell you, based on what St. Louis de Montfort's saying, he obviously is there because he knows about it, because he's talking about it there. And he's going beyond even talking about Our Lady and saying we're going into the mystery of Jesus Christ and becoming Christ-like, like him, receiving his virtues and receiving the fullness of his age. That's really what's being held out in store for us if we don't hold back. Now we're going to get more deeper into this true devotion now that we see the basics about it. And I want to talk about the nature of this perfect devotion and what it's about. First of all, it is a devotion where we give our body to Our Lady, our soul to Our Lady. We give her everything that means. We give her all of our physical strength and all of our physical excellence that we have. And we give her our physical talents, whatever they are, the skills that we have, whatever they are that we have, we know what they are. We give her our soul, all of the actions of it, our intellect, our will, our memory. We give all of that to her, our memories too. We give her our possessions, everything that we own, every tiny little thing that we possess. We give it to her. They're not ours anymore. When you make this consecration, or if you've made the consecration, everything in the past that you've done that was good, everything in the past that you've owned, everything that you have, we're giving to her. All of our previous good works, any previous rosaries that we've said, any previous alms that we've given, any sacrifices that we've done in the past. And we're doing this without pretending to do it. We're not pretending. It's not lip service, but it's real. This is a for real thing that we're being asked to do. And it's the most demanding thing that you'll ever be asked to do. You're not keeping anything. You're literally have nothing, not even a piece of dust left for yourself. Nothing is yours anymore. You are a slave, a real holy slave of Our Lady. And that's what you're being asked to do. And you're not doing this for any payment. You don't expect to have Our Lady come to you in an apparition. or you don't expect her to take care of big problems that you have in work or in life or whatever. You don't expect any glory from her in heaven. You don't expect any praise from her. You only hope that when she sees that you're the slave, that she is happy to bring to she smiles on you and welcomes you into heaven and um, embraces you. Um, and you only want to serve her for her own sake because of who she is. Because at the end of the day, this is the right thing to do. It's not like we're even be great for this. She is so uh, beautiful. She is so powerful because God gave her his power to the extent that she can bear it. She is so pure. She is so humble that the only proper response is for us to give her everything and to become her slave. So we're not even doing anything great. We're just doing what is actually, because God made it this way, the right and just response to this beautiful creature, this inseparable companion of God. I did a lot of research because it's very confusing about, and this is going to answer a question that Brad had last time. Are you Brad the Lesser or Brad the Greater?
Clarification on that. Tom Oglesby gave us the nicknames, and it's because I'm 2 or 3 months older than Brad. I always want people to know that there's nothing crazy. That's how we came up with that.
All right. So Brad the Greater had a question last time. It's because it's kind of crazy what St. Louis de Montfort is asking about our good works. And I'm going to get into the Catholic dogma, not theology, but what we believe as Catholics, a de fide, about good works. And it's going to help clean up if we have a Protestant understanding because of the American experience that we live in. We're modernist milieu, the modernist atmosphere that we have in the church. So I need to talk about two concepts: merit and satisfaction. Both of our good works can be characterized into two things: what merit and satisfaction. And once I walk through each of these, you'll understand better because we're giving Our Lady both. Um, and it's kind of crazy. When I'm done, when I'm done talking, you're going to realize even more how much a slave you are if you embrace this holy slavery. I'm going to talk about merit first. To prepare for this, I read for a few hours the Council of Trent on this subject of good works, and know too that in the Council of Trent, if you don't believe this kind of thing, it's anathematized. That means you are condemned. That's a council that where there's condemnations all over the place. They're called canons. After you read the explanation, there's a bunch of condemnations. And so now I better put it more clear. Just read the canons. I'm not saying just because I may mess up in how I explain this, or I may, through human frailty, not be clear. So yes, there's a question. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Ted. Yes.
Can you send us like a link to that or something? So
I'll do that after. I'll give you the canons. I'll copy and paste it into. I think we got a special, um, a special thing and signal there. I'll paste it in there for our men's group here. Okay. That's de fide. We may find out after this that I messed it up a little bit or I was unclear. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But I studied that. I also studied St. Thomas. St. Thomas is not de fide, but he's an angelic doctor, and you're pretty hard. It's a pretty bad idea to go against St. Thomas. I mean, he did get the Immaculate Conception wrong. He didn't think that there was an Immaculate Conception, but it's just because he didn't know. It took Duns Scotus to figure that out, how Our Lady was immaculately conceived. That's a whole nother subject. But with merit, in the philosophical sense, merit is a reward due in justice. It's either a reward or a punishment that is due you, that is your due. If you do something bad, you deserve a punishment. If you do something good, you deserve a reward. Jesus Christ merited, through his sacrifice, through his life, death, and resurrection, merited us the grace that we need to be saved. We don't merit that. But once we receive that grace, and as long as we stay in a state of sanctifying grace, we can merit. God can bind himself because he chooses to. He can bind himself to the extent that we can really, actually merit injustice. But we have to understand that that merit comes in the context that we were given grace that we did not deserve, that we did not merit first. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So there has to be a prevenient grace that we don't merit, that is given to us, that gets us grafted onto the vine. And once we are grafted onto the vine, and as long as we are grafted into the vine and we stay in a state of sanctifying grace, we can merit. We can grow in glory. We can grow in grace. We can grow in our capacity to have the beatific vision. All of those things. We can personally merit that, but God, it's because he decided to do that. And that's why we're able to do that. That's why our salvation is way more glorious than the salvation that the Protestants offer. The Protestants speak about Jesus being the snow covering over a pile of excrement and dung, and that pile of excrement stays excrement. We believe this. This is a quote from St. Ignatius of Antioch. It's in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. It's a part of our patristic tradition. It sounds crazy. It's a little bit of an exaggeration. But as Catholics, we believe that God became man so that man can become God with a small g, so that we can share in his divinity. And there are passages in the Bible that speak about that. We call it in theology this process of theosis. And this process of divinization begins at our baptism. And so, moment by moment, when the waters are poured over us, we get sanctifying grace and we grow in it. And it's a process of divinization. When God looks at us, he sees the likeness of his son. And we become, that's what christening means. We become Christianized. Doesn't mean we're omnipotent now and we're divine, we have a divine nature. No, it's just an exaggeration of the power and beauty and the hope. We have a greater hope in our Catholic faith than the Protestants. We're not excrement. We're excrement turning into snow. That's real. And in time, and our pile of excrement grows, and the pile of snow increases, and we merit. And because God decided to, we can make that pile of snow get bigger and bigger, and we can merit that. And it's a real thing. It's real. It's a real thing that we deserve. If that wasn't true, then the Gospel of Matthew would be wrong. When Jesus turned to, in the parable of the separation of the sheep and the goats, when he said, "Leave me, because when I was hungry, you did not feed me." Those people that do not merit heaven deserve hell, because they didn't do things. They didn't merit. So merit for Jesus Christ in the Gospels is a real thing. If merit wasn't real, it wouldn't say in the New Testament, I think it's St. Peter. Yes, Peter, right? Work out your salvation. Work out your salvation with fear and trembling. We have to work out our salvation. We have to merit it in this context. Or another passage, faith without works is dead. We have to merit. So it's in the Bible, and that's what we believe as Catholics. Are we giving that to Our Lady? We are. We are giving it to Our Lady, but it's not transferable. It is ours. It is our salvation. It's something we deserve. It's something that we earn. We give it to Our Lady, and she keeps it safe and protects it. We risk losing that treasure, which Jesus says, store up your treasure in heaven. Who's the best place? What's the best treasury of graces? It's Our Lady. And we give it to her so that we can safeguard it, because the world, as we can see it, when we drive past those nasty billboards, or we walk and we check out of the grocery store, or we're online and looking at news on Fox News or whatever we're looking at, we're seeing immodest stuff. And so that's dust that gets on us. We don't even, we're not even tempted by it, but it still works into our psyche, and it's dust. It's that nasty dust of the world that can threaten our treasure. The merit part of good works concerns our eternity, our glorification, our beatific vision, our capacity to see God, our capacity to love Him, our capacity to be happiness, our capacity to be satisfied by Him. And that is not transferable. It is ours. And it's ours. I'm scandalized to say it's ours in justice, because God Himself decided to make it that way. I mean, that's what's crazy about our salvation. We are sinners. We are creatures. We're made by God that don't even deserve to have existence. And then we're fallen. We don't deserve redemption. And then we don't deserve glorification. It's crazy what God has done for us. And yet He chose to do it. And He chose to say, it's your due. It's yours. He just chose to make it that way. That's the hope that we believe as Catholics. It's way higher. It's sad to think that you're just a pile of dung covered over by snow, so that when God the Father looks over you, He sees His Son, but you're still a piece of excrement. I'm not going to say it, but if you said it, the bad word, it would express more the sad view of Martin Luther, who, by the way, spent a lot of his time actually on the toilet writing his theology. He had this weird, just like the Pope. The Pope has this weird obsession with excrement, and he talks about it a lot. He's done it at least a half a dozen times. I don't know if you know that. Just look it up. He's weird. No Pope has ever done that before and has been that obsessed with excrement. But Martin Luther himself also spent a lot of his time. That's why Martin Luther has this other quote. Have you heard this one before? Sin, and sin boldly. You don't have faith in Jesus Christ to save you unless you sin and commit mortal sin after mortal sin and sin boldly. You just don't believe that God can save you. It's nuts. It's absolutely insane. It's just craziness. I'm going to talk about satisfaction now. Satisfaction more is a creditor. We have to satisfy our debts. We have to satisfy our obligations. we have to pay back our debts. When we sin, we walk out of that confessional, whether we confess a mortal or a venial sin. For us, we're confessing venial sins. We walk out of there and we owe a debt of temporal punishment that's going to get us in purgatory. And we can pay back that debt by doing the penance the priest says, by getting a plenary indulgence, by doing all kinds of stuff that we have to do. That is transferable. The satisfactory value can be detached from the meriting agent. So we're the meriting agent. We pray the rosary, or we do the good works, we do the fasting, we wear the chain or whatever it is. We're getting merits for ourselves that Our Lady is storing up in heaven. But we're also getting satisfactory value that can pay back some of the debt that we owe due to temporal punishment and the debt that we owe. Jesus talks about it. He says, until you pay the last penny, right? Some of them people won't get out. I don't know which gospel that's in. I'm sorry, I don't know that. But he speaks about it. You're not going to get out until you pay the last penny. Or maybe that's St. Paul, somewhere in the New Testament. That's transferable. We can transfer that. So when we give that to Our Lady, we're not giving it for her to hold on to us. We're giving it to her carte blanche. We're giving it to her without any hesitation, without any hope for ourselves, without any hope for our relatives, without any hope for our friends, without with perfect disinterestedness. So, and we give it to her with trust, right? Who better can handle that? Who's going to use it the best? Us? We're going to think what's best for the satisfactory value of our good actions. Do we know what's best? No. Our mother, Mama Mary, Our Lady, the mediatrix of all graces, the woman, the inseparable companion of Jesus, knows what's best to do with our satisfactory value of our good actions. And so we give it to her in complete trust. Now that leads to Brad the Greater's question. That is, what about praying for, do I get to still pray for people? Or what about priests? Can they offer the satisfactory value of the Holy Mass? He says that directly. When a priest celebrates the Mass, the satisfactory value, the capacity to remit temporal punishment, he has an obligation in his duty and state in life to offer it for an intention of the Mass. And so this offering of our satisfactory value is limited to our state in life. So for a priest, and we have to state the intention for that Mass or any Mass, he has a duty to offer it for what the Mass is for. And so there's a limit there on that particular satisfactory value. Or our state in life. In the case of praying for people, he says this quote in paragraph 132, paragraph 2. And I'm going to have to end on this. I've prepared way more. I can answer a few questions after this, or you got comments, and then we're just going to have to pick up. I'm going to be on vacation next week, but I want to still do this, and we'll just keep going as usual. Here we go, paragraph 132.2, we have time for this. This practice does not hinder us from praying for others, whether dead or living. So be assured of that, because we want to pray, and it makes sense to. Although the application of our good works depends on the will of our Blessed Lady. On the contrary, so we're giving the satisfactory value and the meritorious value of our good works to her. On the contrary, it is this very thing which will lead us to pray with more confidence. So after we give it to her, we can still pray for those people, even though we gave up the meritorious value for ourselves to store it up, and we gave the satisfactory value to Our Lady for whatever she wants to do with it. Now we can turn to her with even greater confidence that she's going to take this and it's going to be for the best. This is going to be the best work it can be. And she is going to be so happy to hear from us. And it's at that point, we're going to be even better positioned to ask for Our Lady, for our loved ones, for the deceased and the living, for whatever we want to pray for. She is going to smile at us because we have disinterestedly given to her the merits and the satisfactory value of her good works. She's going to be so pleased. On the contrary, he says, it is this very thing which will lead us to pray with more confidence, just as a rich person who has given all his wealth to his prince in order to honor him the more would beg the prince all the more confidently to give an alms, to give back some of that wealth to one of his friends who should ask for it. Do you think Our Lady would not give back some of the satisfactory value that you gave her or more? You gave $1 million to her and you asked for 1,000 for one of your friends who is in need, has a medical need. She would give 5,000, 10, or maybe the whole $1 million back, or maybe $1 billion back. That's how she is. It would be even a source of pleasure to the prince to be given occasion of proving his gratitude toward a person who has stripped himself to clothe him and impoverish himself to honor him. We must say the same thing of our blessed Lord and Our Lady. We'll end with this. They will never let themselves be outdone in gratitude. Our Lord and Our Lady will never, they just won't. They can't. They love us too much. So hope that answers the question you had, Brad, from before. And I had to take a long time to explain it. But that's the nature of this consecration. So that's really what we're giving up. You're penniless. You're a real slave. Yeah. Anybody have questions or comments as we leave? Yeah.
Cleta Montfort, I've read this, but things go in and out of my mind. Does he talk about spiritual attacks while you're doing the consecration at all?
He does, yeah. Yeah, he says later on, yeah, you're gonna be attacked for sure. I mean, seeing Louis Montfort live this out and he was poisoned, you might get poisoned. I mean, if you really live this out, for sure. Yeah, you can expect that. Yeah, to be attacked. But there's no fear though, Like, have you seen on Netflix when I used to have it before they really got bad? There's a documentary called "The Devil and Father Gabriel Morth." Has anybody seen that one? That's a powerful documentary. I'll send you a link. "The Devil and Father Gabriel Morth." There's a real live video of Father Gabriel Morth in the middle of an exorcism there. And when he says, "My soul proclaims the greatness of the Lord," then the devil goes crazy. If you're ever being troubled by the devil, and this has happened to me before, one time in my sleep, 5 devils, and I'm not saying this for you to think I'm great, because I'm not at all. I'm just to tell you what, 5 devils or demons came to me in my sleep, and I knew that there was 5, and they were attacking me with impure thoughts, disgusting stuff. And I knew there were 5, and I got up on my knees, and I don't remember, I just prayed the rosary then, but other times, and they left, I'd stayed on my knees praying the rosary till they left. And so Our Lady would protect us. Another time, I felt the visible, dark manifestation of the devil, and I just said, "My soul proclaims the greatness of the Lord." If you just say that, they can't stand that. That is the greatest. The words of Our Lady, they fear the most. They can't besides the commanding prayer itself, I command you to leave. The words of Our Lady, they just can't bear it. And so, um, even though we will be attacked more, we're also, we're her property. So we live under that protection. So,
Yeah, I found too, regular confession eliminates that kind of stuff, but,
yeah. Mhm.
just experiencing with, I'm doing it with my family, and there's like, when we're doing it, there's just no peace. The kids are fighting each other, and it's like, and then just while I've been doing this psychologically, I've been experiencing just sort of like an apathy and like a burdensome, like, oh, not just the consecration itself, but
Yeah,
just with the
oh, yeah.
faith itself.
Yeah,
It's
oh,
like,
yeah. Yeah.
I can't do this. This is too much work. This is,
Yeah.
I've become
Yeah.
conscious that I think this is a spiritual attack.
Yeah, that is. That, yeah, that
And then
is.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say the other desert fathers call that acedia. Yeah, no, I think they call it acedia if I get that right. They have the desert fathers. They call it that. Like it's this apathy. It's this. I don't feel it. I feel nothing. It's that's see that chaplain that I told you, Father Maximilian T. One time he told me in confession. He goes, that's when he was a friar. He said that's when you're growing the most. The greatest growth is happening when you're not feeling it, and that's why if you haven't revoked this consecration, it's in effect, and all we do is plow forward. It's like the end receiver. He's just going to run with his hands waiting for the next consecration. And I've experienced that. So I'm like, I don't feel anything. I just wow. I'm like, there's no joy. There's no nothing. Like I like dragging my feet, making myself do it, and that's where that's. But after that, there's a great grace that will come. That's very normal. Yeah. Thank you for that question. It's very, very normal.
I had one other question. I know we're out of time, but
Yeah.
The first part that you had highlighted with the, who's going to go to the first step, the second step, the third step, and then having the habitual practice.
Yeah.
What is that habitual practice? What does that mean? Is that?
I don't know. I mean, the best I can say what I've done personally is, I think this year I've gone maybe a half a step. In my whole life, I haven't even taken one step. I think I've taken a half a step this year, or last year maybe. Something's different in my life to where I'm kind of like, I love doing this, and I love making multiple consecrations of the year. Like I love doing this with you. You're giving me a great opportunity to talk about this, and just I get so excited about talking about Our Lady, and I think for him, I think for a habitual state might be like you're a saint, and it doesn't mean you don't sin, but like you're more conscious that like I find myself still very interested in what I want and very attached. And I think he probably had that level and was very detached. So I think it's like that. It's like I'm lucky if I can have a union with right, like I'm conscious of God 1 second. Besides, I pray maybe 30 minutes in the morning. Most of the time I do that as a good habit. A couple times I don't. That's very rare. But so maybe one time in the day, for 1 second, I'm actually like, have this union with Jesus and Mary. But I think they probably have more of a union with them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that helps.
But then I think of Saint Therese, for example. Saint Therese once she joined the Carmelites when she's 14. That was it. All the joy of the faith was gone, and she was in acedia the rest of her life. She had no joy anymore. The rest of her vocation, the next 10 years, was pure hell on earth. All she had was the will, the intellectual and will of the decision to do it. So I don't know. Even I don't know. But I know he must have had it because he's showing us something there on the horizon for us to see. So that's the best. I don't know what the first, second step even are, but I know that um, he's definitely getting us past. Um, I can say this in a couple areas of my life, I'm trying to be disinterested in the things that I'm interested in, and that's the best where I'm at. And before, I don't even think I was conscious of that. So I think if we could pick one thing where we know we're super attached to, and we can, and we, it's butting up against this idea of holy slavery. If we can keep every day, the next 17 days, try to just focus on that one, that's going to be maybe a half a step or a quarter step, but it's going to be life changing for you. That's why I say, when I said at the beginning, everybody says such and such is life changing. This really is. I mean, I really feel like this is going to be life changing. It's been for me. It'll be life changing for you. And I don't think it's. I think that it's. That's why this is better than the consecration to Saint Joseph or consecration to your guardian angel. This is like nothing else. So, but we're way over time, so better. Unless you got anybody else got questions, we're 5 over here. You guys got to go to work and stuff.
I think the key word is attachment. This whole, what just came out reminds me a lot of the St. John of the Cross. You know, he's all about detachment from the world. I think you could reach that higher step once you fully detached from the world. You
Yeah,
don't experience anger. You don't experience, self-love. I mean, it's just you're in union with the will of God, right? So
yeah.
for
Yeah.
some of us, we will never probably get there, but we always must strive to reach that higher step.
Yeah.
That's what the Buddhists call nirvana, right?
What's that?
That's what the Buddhists would call nirvana, right?
Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think nirvana is complete nothingness, where there's nothing exists anymore. So I think it's different than attachment.
Because God, there's still God.
In nirvana?
No.
Oh,
in
yeah.
our.
Yeah, in our case, yeah, in their case, it's like spiritual suicide. Like you're actually trying to kill your body and soul, and merge into the one or something like that. For us, we're just trying to mortify ourselves to the point where we're Our Ladies. I think it's better to think of it we're Mariana, maybe something like that, maybe. Yeah. Want to go to the state of Mariana. So
The difference between Buddhism and Christianity they're manifold, but
yeah,
Christianity is like a great enlivening, and Buddhism is a great deadening. The way
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Chesterton put it is, he said what didn't attract him to Buddhism was that he would look at their saints and they always had their eyes closed, and the Christian murals their eyes are always open and looking to heaven.
Yeah, that's
really
great.
an artistic distinction between what the two
Yeah.
religions represent.
Yeah, that's very
It's a
true.
total weird, like, I don't know why that's attractive to people. It's like you said, go into the one. It's this monistic stream of being that right now you have consciousness, but you'll lose your
Going into
consciousness and maybe
nothingness.
go into nothingness.
Yeah.
How is that attractive? I don't know. But
Yeah, that's why our hope is way better. We have the best hope in the world, really.
Our final prayer, gentlemen, in nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti.
Amen.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee.
Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Ghost.
It was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen.
Most Sacred Heart of Jesus,
Have mercy on us.
Immaculate Heart of Mary,
Pray for us.
in nomine Patris et Filio et Spiritus Sancto. Amen.
Amen. We'll see you.